Hello and welcome to another Battlefield 6 weapons guide. In today's guide, we'll be talking about the gun you unlock from the first assault class challenge, which is the KORD 6P67, a gun that is very similar in my opinion to the M4 carbine. Now, is it better than the M4? I mean, I think that's really up to you. I think, of course, the M4 has more damage and it has the same rate of fire. So, is this thing going to lose out to the M4 in close range if they get the first shot? Yeah, probably. But in the league of covering things that I think are fun to play, we're going to cover it anyways. So, from a muzzle perspective, we are going to go the standard double port brake, or we're going to go the compensated brake once we actually unlock it. I mean, the difference between the compensated and the double port really isn't that big of a deal. And unless you want to go suppressed, you're probably going to be running one of these two either way. When we talk about the barrel itself, we're going to do our standard heavy barrel, as it really does give us the best kind of recoil control because this thing does shoot extremely fast. Even though it really doesn't have too much recoil, I think a little bit of extra recoil control goes a long way. From our underbarrel perspective, we are going to go Old Faithful and pick the 6H64. And honestly, I do think once you unlock the low profile stubby, which is directly beneath it, you can go that. I do think the price point is kind of steep, so you're probably going to want to stick with the 6H64. From our rounds, of course, or our magazines, we are going to go the 30 round fast and then the 36 once we unlock it. And then we're, of course, going to put a laser on it. My preference, of course, is the green laser, as it only costs 10 points. And some of the other ones, like the green and blue later ones you unlocked, cost a little bit much, in my opinion. So I think this 10 cost one is perfect. Now we actually look at our scopes. We're going to do the normal kind of 1.75, 1.52 times, as really this gun excels in kind of the mid-range fights. And we'll kind of talk about the bloom in a second when we get to the actual firing range. I will say that if you have the extra points, you can run the frangible rounds. They're very nice when you're fighting with people, as it prevents them from being able to heal as quick as you would like. So I think it's pretty obvious with this gun that the bloom on it from about 30 or 25 meters onward can be a bit nutty. But if you're just tapping it with your trigger, it is very manageable. I really did have a lot of fun with this gun. And honestly, close range, because really, let's be honest, most people aren't using the M4. And that is really the only gun that I think will compete with it, besides, of course, the SMGs. But from a hip fire and kind of just an aiming down the sights perspective, it does feel relatively clean. It does feel, in my opinion, as close to the M4 as we're going to get without actually using the M4. And honestly, when we actually see it in kind of action, I do think it excels in the same kind of situations as the M4. You are just kind of banking on the idea that you have 900 rounds, that rate of fire of 900, and that you're going to just be trying to beat people just strictly based on the fact that you can put as much lead down range as possible. Now, this gun, I strictly pretty much ran it in Conquest, so for testing purposes, Conquest can be a little more open, and I was still dropping 40, 50, 60, 70 kills each game and wasn't really struggling with it. I think it's a lot of fun, and it really doesn't require a lot of attachments to more or less be effective. There is some things that I think will, like I said, get beat out because really the M4, that 5 extra damage really does mean it takes one less shot to kill somebody. That one shot might mean the difference between you living or dying. So really, do I think this gun, because you're going to naturally unlock it anyways if you're doing the assault rifle challenges, so I think this gun's amazing. I think there's an asterisk next to it being great just because of that 5 damage drop off from, the first carbine you unlock. But if you can't tell from most of these clips, this thing is pretty much a laser beam. We were talking about the bloom being pretty awkward sometimes, and it does feel awkward from a distance, but on the same note, it kind of feels consistent. It feels like the shots go in the kind of size of a human or of a player model, human player model in this game's body. So from 30 meters, you can manage some pretty decent shots on full auto, which I have a couple clips that I will show you on Operation Firebreak that kind of emphasize that if you land those couple shots in the chest, then you might get lucky, is all I'm saying. Now, when we actually talk about the build, I did say that you could run this thing suppressed. The suppressor is kind of one of the last things you unlocked. And personally, I think this thing would probably be pretty good with a suppressor. I mean, because we're going to be all up in people's business anyways. And as you can tell, it really just kind of encourage you to push people as hard as possible. And I mean, I don't know. I'm very conflicted on this gun. I've only spent about, we'll say 6 hours on it like I usually do to get the right amount of clips and kind of get a feel for it. I think it feels really good, but it just makes me want to kind of go back to the M4, which is a really awkward feeling because it is hidden behind a challenge that isn't necessarily hard, but it is a challenge, so you don't just unlock it naturally. I'd really like to hear people's thoughts on this gun. I really do think it does excel from 10 to 20 meters. It's gonna kill really quick. TDK with this gun feels pretty decent. But past that point, you're gonna be doing a lot of tapping. You're gonna just kind of be hoping for the best and maybe spraying in a general direction and hoping that it works out. But that is all I have for today. How do y'all think this gun functions? I do think because you have to use this to get to your next challenge anyway for the next gun in this tier, I do think it would be pretty easy for you to kind of just get your 250 kills with this thing and be done with it. But I do think it is a pretty fun gun. And honestly, it kind of fits into this weird niche of the high rate of fire of the M4, but it doesn't have the power of the M4. So, like I said, I'm very conflicted with actually rating it on a system of, would I use it past doing the challenge? Maybe, maybe not. Granted, I'm going to drop it now to do other videos, but maybe it's something I come back to in a little bit, as, you know, it did feel good in most situations, and I imagine it would work pretty well in escalation or anything where close quarters is kind of the priority. But on bigger conquest-based maps, I was struggling a little bit, but as you'll see from some of my clips, we made it work anyways. So, as always, I hope y'all have a good rest of your day, good rest of your month, and a good rest of your year. This has been another Battlefield 6 weapons guide. I hope y'all enjoyed this so far. We are cranking these out by the daily, and there's the long range clip, of course, if you want to see it. But if y'all have any suggestions for what you want me to cover next, by all means, I know I got to do some LMGs. We're going to try to cover some more ARs and some more carbines, like the Scar. But other than that, y'all are free to go. There's about 2 more minutes of clips worth watching if you want. By all means, stick around if you want to see this thing in action more. I have quite a few nasty clips. But other than that, I hope to see y'all on the next video. And I hope y'all have a good rest of your nights, or day, or morning, or wherever you are. But hey, just remember, we're out there frying people. Don't forget.
You're an Optic!